Okay, you've totally seen this happen, right? You're in a room, maybe a nursery or just a family get-together, and one baby starts to wail. And for a second, it's just that one baby. But then, almost on cue, another one joins in, and then another. Suddenly, you're in the middle of a full-blown crying chorus.
So, what is actually going on there? Is it just a chaotic reaction to a really loud, annoying sound? Or are we witnessing something way deeper? Maybe one of the very first signs of human connection itself? All right, let's dive in and figure this out.
You know, this phenomenon, this thing we see all the time, is so easy to just dismiss as a coincidence. But it's actually our first big clue. Scientists have a name for it. They call it contagious crying. And it tells us something pretty incredible about how we're wired from the second we arrive.
And when I say from the second we arrive, I mean that literally. Research shows that from the very first hours of life, newborns are already biologically prepped to respond to this one specific sound. It's not just any noise. It's a signal their brand new brains are uniquely tuned to pick up on and react to. So check this out. This table shows a landmark study from 1976. Researchers took infants who were only 34 hours old and played them different sounds. And the results are just fascinating. When they heard a recording of a real newborn crying, they cried way more than when the room was quiet or when they heard a computer-generated cry, even if it was the exact same volume. This proves it's not just about the noise level, it's something about the authentic sound of another baby in distress.
And this is where it gets even more mind-blowing. Studies also found that newborns don't really cry when they hear a recording of their own cry. Just let that sink in for a second. On some very basic fundamental level, they can tell the difference between me and not me. And that ability to tell self from other, that is the absolute bedrock, the foundation for building empathy.
Okay, so we've established that newborns react specifically to other babies' cries. But how does that even happen? Let's take a look at the amazing biological machinery that's working inside their little developing brains.
The main mechanism here is called emotional contagion. And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like catching an emotional cold. The feeling just spreads. It's automatic, it's visceral, and it happens long before a baby has any idea what an emotion even is. They hear distress, and so they feel distress. Simple as that.
Now, a key player in this whole process is something called the mirror neuron system. These brain cells are incredible. They fire not only when we do something, but also when we see or hear someone else do it. For a baby, when they hear another infant cry, this system lights up. Their brain isn't just hearing a sound, it's almost simulating or trying on that feeling of distress. It creates a shared feeling on a deep neural level.
But it's even more than just a simulation. That sound also directly triggers the baby's own emotional centers. Brain areas like the amygdala, which is our threat detector, and the anterior cingulate cortex, which is linked to our own experience of pain, they both fire up. This means the baby isn't just mirroring something. They are genuinely feeling a version of that distress themselves. It's a powerful, real reaction, especially in their super-sensitive, still-developing nervous systems. So this automatic biological reaction, it's not just some weird, fascinating quirk of being a baby. This is it. This is the very first spark of empathy. It's a reflex, sure, but it's the reflex that lays the entire foundation for a lifetime of social and emotional connection.
And this timeline really puts it all into perspective. What starts as just reflexive crying in the first few months, well, it evolves. By 9 months or so, a baby will show obvious distress when someone else is upset. Then, between 1 and 2 years old, they might actually try to comfort someone. And later on, they develop what we call cognitive empathy, the actual understanding that other people have feelings totally separate from their own. But it all starts with that contagious cry.
So we've kind of gone on a journey here, haven't we? We went from seeing this as just a simple, maybe even annoying reflex, to understanding it's this deeply important social response. This isn't random. It's an innate biological bridge that connects one human to another, right from the very beginning. You know, the developmental psychologist Martin Hoffman, one of the researchers from that original 1976 study, he just summed it up perfectly. He called it the innate precursor of empathic distress. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it basically means we are born with a starter kit already in place to feel with and for other people.
So, the next time you hear that chorus of crying erupt, maybe you'll hear it a little differently. What if that sound isn't chaos at all? What if it's actually the very first note in the beautiful, complicated, and lifelong symphony of human connection?